Hey everybody, good morning. This is Jordan Tremaine, and welcome to the Perspective Podcast, where we explore new thoughts, connect ideas, and offer perspectives that may change the way you think about a thing or two. And today, we're going to talk about a concept that I learned in college called garbage in, garbage out. So, before we get started, I think it's kind of just funny to say where, I don't know if this happens to you, but when I learn something and it burns into my head, if somebody taught me that thing, whenever I think that idea, I always see them and I hear that idea in their voice. And I had a teacher in college that used to just say garbage in, garbage out, so often. And when I think that term in my head, it's in his voice. So shouts to Dr. Fan. But just kind of a little funny aside. Hello, everybody. And we're going to get started with a concept that I've been building for a while. This is kind of going to be the third installment of this concept. So this is building off of what initially was logic aliasing. So if you haven't heard that episode, I think it's the best for you to listen to that first before listening to this. And then after logic aliasing, the next idea that is in this lineup is called the emotion machine. And so this is really expanding on the idea of the emotion machine, or something I said during that podcast. So if you listen to the logic machine and then you listen to logic aliasing and then you listen to the emotion machine, I think it'll set you up really good for being like, man, having all the ideas for this episode. But if you want to just dive into this one today, you can get value from it without listening to those. I don't think it's going to be confusing if you only listen to this episode, but I would highly recommend you listening to those episodes before. So anyways, we're going to talk about a concept called garbage in, garbage out. And I don't know if that exists outside of engineering, but within engineering, you got math problems and you got computer programs and stuff like that, where in higher level math, there's these things called functions, where they're like machines. I think of them like the pizza machine at Little Caesars, and it's like an oven and a conveyor belt, where you put the pizza on one side on the conveyor belt, and the conveyor belt takes it through the oven, and then on the other side, the pizza comes out and it's cooked. And the function is the oven. You put some stuff on one side, and then it goes through the function, and then some other stuff on the other side comes out. And the idea of garbage in, garbage out is it doesn't matter how good the function is in math. If you plug in a bunch of whack data that doesn't make any sense, you're going to get a whack answer that doesn't make any sense. You have to plug in good information in order to get good information out. But the thing that's kind of tricky about that is, just like in the emotion machine podcast is talking about functions or function machines, where the machine, the oven doesn't know if you put a pizza in it, or if you stick your hand in it, or if you put your wallet in there. The oven has no idea. It's just going to do what it always does, which is move the conveyor belt and add a bunch of heat, or whatever the function does. And so if you stick the wrong thing in there, it's going to process it as if it's the right thing, which is why you get this garbage in, garbage out. If you put garbage in, the machine's not going to recognize that you put the wrong thing in there, then turn it into the right thing, and then perform its job, and then spit out the perfect thing that you want. It's going to just do what it normally does, as if you put the right thing in there, and then spit out whatever the product is, and never tell you that it was yo, that was bad data, because it doesn't know. It just takes whatever you give it, does its job, and moves on. And so this is really interesting, I think. I'm going to build this concept. There's going to be a podcast later, which is going to be so many ideas coming together into one, and I really want to get to it, but I think I want to set this one up first, because in the Emotion Machine podcast, I did a little bit of a bonus thing, I think, talking about my truth, and before we get into that, I'm going to explain this in terms of FEA. Wow. It's like I had too much soda today. FEA is an acronym. It means Finite Element Analysis. And basically in engineering, there's computer programs that help you predict what's going to happen to stuff. Like when I drop this ball and it hits the ground, what's going to happen to this ball? And in FEA, you can set up, okay, I have a ball, I have some ground, the ball is this hard, the ground is that hard, I'm going to drop it from this height, it's going to move this fast, and so the force is going to be like this, and then it crunches some numbers and it tells you what's going to happen to the ball. And it's, depending on how powerful your software is and how good of a computer you have, the FEA can get more and more in depth and tell you really exactly what's happening to that ball when it hits the ground. Which is really the same concept I was trying to push for the emotion machine, which is like if you have, or for the logic machine, if you have a really nice computer and you have really nice software, when you plug in the logical data into the really nice computer with the really nice software, it's going to give you a really nice answer. And so FEA is like, the better it is, the better results you're going to get. If you give it the right information, if you set up that information right, and you set up your constraints right. So like if you say the ball is going to drop down and hit the ground, but you accidentally pressed up instead of down, so really it throws the ball straight up instead of dropping it, you're not going to get a good answer because the ball's never going to touch the floor. It's going to get shot straight up instead of going down towards the ground. And that's kind of an example of garbage in, garbage out. It's going to give you a force of like 0 because the ball never hit the ground. But in this idea with my truth, where we have these different types of machines, like this emotion machine and this logic machine, which are functions, kind of like the pizza oven. You put something on one end, it does its job, it like cooks the pizza or whatever, and it spits out the product on the other end. If you're dedicated to only using this pizza oven, and you have other stuff to cook, like you have other stuff to do, like make salads, or like pour soft drinks, but you're just always running everything through this pizza oven, not only will you probably ruin the pizza oven, but you're gonna get a bunch of garbage on the other side of the pizza oven as well. So you're gonna make a mess, you're gonna probably break your machine, and you're not gonna get what you wanted. And I caution against this very highly, because I think it's gonna happen. Like, nobody's perfect, and sometimes we think something is one way when it's really another way. And the pizza oven example makes it really extreme. Like, who thinks that you should put a soda in an oven? But some people run their emotional data through their logic machine, and that's kind of like putting a salad in the oven. But it doesn't seem like that way in your mind because you can't see thoughts. But if you're really dedicated to doing that, like using your oven no matter what the job is, or standing in this opinion or this mindset or this perspective that you're right, and you thought about it, you considered it, and the conclusion you came to was the correct conclusion, I'm not saying you're wrong, because sometimes you're right. There's a high chance that it's possible you're right, and there's a high chance that it's possible you're wrong, or some mix of some parts are right and some parts are wrong. But to assume that you're right, or to assume that something is bad because you feel it's bad, or something like that, it's kind of like putting yourself on a pedestal above everybody else and saying like, well, my machine is state of the art, so when I run whatever through my machine, it works, and since the data looks bad, it's because what you told me was bad. It's not because my machine is bad. That I would say most of the time. Sometimes people are feeding you weird data. Sometimes people are trying to manipulate you. Sometimes people are trying to control you. A lot of the time, when you're talking to people that are in your circle, when you're talking to your friends, when you're talking to your coworkers and stuff, they don't have it out for you. They're trying to explain something to you. And if you are very dedicated to interpreting everybody else's information through your perspective, so like, this is extreme, but like totally lacking empathy, saying that my perspective is the only right perspective. I'm going to use my logic machine because that's the machine to use. You, I think, are going to find yourself trudging through the swamp of misunderstanding quite often, or having people not want to talk to you. Now, I'm not saying you need to be like, become this like ultra guru of empathy, or never use the machine that you like to use. I'm saying that, and I'm understanding, I'm not really explaining the machine stuff, so please go and listen to that, the Emotion Machine podcast. It makes this make a lot more sense. I'm saying if you get too dedicated to doing what you're used to, and so there's some forms of this where it's like, that's just the way I was raised, or this is just what I believe, or this is just the political party I belong to, so this is what I'm going to do. Oh, that's my favorite one. That's how we've always done it. Those kind of thinkings are just like, I'm going to use my logic machine no matter what. I'm going to live my truth. I'm going to do what I think is right, regardless of what is right, because I'm not concerned with looking outside of my regular experience for any sort of positive feedback. I'm going to assume that the way is my way or the highway. What I'm right, and what I already do makes me comfortable, so I'm going to keep doing that. And I may be stepping on some people's toes right now, and I mean, I think that's okay, because I'm okay with disagreeing with people. I'm really not trying to harass you or call you out or make you feel dumb or call you stupid or something like that. If that's what you're feeling, I hope that's not what you're feeling. I'm trying to point something out, because I think I've fallen into this a bunch of times. I've gotten like ultra offended at people, and I think there have been cases where they weren't trying to hurt me at all. They were trying to tell me something that would have helped me, but I was being like in my feelings, or I was being defensive or whatever. I was like, forcing emotional data, or forcing certain data into my logic machine or into the machine I like, and it wasn't working out, but I was so dedicated to doing that. Like, I've done that a bunch of times. And I'm kind of like tale of caution. I've been there. It doesn't always work out that right. And I see it a lot today in like with the elections, and like people having reactions to people thinking differently, and thinking that just because someone thinks differently that they're trying to attack you. Like, it's okay to have your truth. It's okay to have a super strong logic machine. It's okay to have beliefs. It's okay to be raised a certain way. It's okay to have a certain religion. It's okay to have a certain sexual orientation. All those things are dope, and I think you should create your own identity. I think you should be a real person. I think you should have stuff about you that's unique. But when your expression or the existence of your uniqueness, whether it's your ideas that you express to other people, the way you dress, or whatever, when it doesn't allow everybody else to be their own unique type of person, and it doesn't respect other people's uniqueness, I think that's where it starts running into problems. That's where the my truth idea gets in the way of the truth, where it's totally okay to have your truth. It's totally okay to dress however you want, or say the things you want. But when you don't allow other people to do that, when you don't empathize with other people and try to understand other people's truths as well as your own truth, and I know that some people listening are going to be like, oh, I do that. And it's true that you do that for some people. I'm saying you do that for everybody, no matter how much you don't like them or how much they offend you. You give everybody the ability to be themselves, so long as they are not stopping other people from being themselves. I think that's where we have to draw the line. So it's totally cool for you to dress however you want, so long as it's not causing a problem. Like, maybe don't dress in a way that's actually on fire because it lights off the fire alarms and starts the sprinklers, and that ruins everybody else's outfits. So, maybe dress in a way that's safe for other people to be around you. Don't have a bunch of knives sticking out of your jacket, even though that probably looks cool. That's also dangerous. So, and don't be just like, well, this is just how I dress, and you better get used to it. And it's like, no, you have knives sticking out of you. So, like, we can't be around each other like that. But, so, there's certain limitations, I think, as far as dealing with other people. But, be as unique as you can be. Be your own person. Discover who you are and express it. And don't be afraid of doing that. But let everybody else do that, so long as it doesn't encroach on the ability for everybody else to be who they want to be. If somebody wants to be the biggest racist on the planet, go for it. Be a racist. I don't agree with that personally. But who am I to, force you to have certain thoughts? If you want to be sexist, okay. I'm not for people that want to go out and do racist things. But if you want to think ideas, if you want to say, hey, this is what I believe, and I don't believe the same thing, I can disagree with you. I can get offended. Okay. But you have every right to think that, because it's a thought. And I know this gets kind of slippery slope. There's this argument that people that think certain thoughts are more likely to act on them or spread them to other people, and they're more likely to act on them. But that's true for every thought. And a thought is only bad based on your moral compass. And everybody has a different moral compass because everybody has their own truth. So it's, again, kind of, garbage in, garbage out when you're saying my moral compass is the best moral compass, and we should have everybody line up with the north of my moral compass. So everybody's morals are different. So I'm not saying you have to follow everybody else's morals, but respect that people can be different, and you don't have to listen to everybody. But because I don't know, I don't have time to listen to 8 billion people. That's too much. Too many different opinions. But don't ignore opinions just because they don't gel with you, just because they don't make you feel good on the inside. It's important to listen to the dissenting opinion. If you look at the major landmark court cases in the United States, some of the most important information is held in the opinion of the judge that disagreed. That's called a dissenting opinion. So they write out why they think all the other judges are wrong, and they can go suck it. But they respect that the system allows us to vote and say, okay, 5 judges said yes, 1 judge said no, so we're going to say yes. But the judge that said no, he's like, I still disagree, and this is why I disagree, but you guys are allowed to have your opinion, and we're in this system where we voted, so that's what's going to happen. And that judge that said no, he's not going to go key the car of the other judges or throw eggs at their house or whatever, because they're allowed to think different things. It's okay. It may be difficult to wrestle with the idea that someone else thinks a different thought, or difficult to wrestle with the idea that people believe a different thing than you, but that's always true. Think about how strange it would be if 8 million people believe the same thing on anything. If 8 million people agreed, that's billion. 8 billion people. I'm talking about all the people on the planet right now. If they all agreed on even one thing, I don't even think there's one thing that we all agree on. That would be amazing. And to act like that's possible, technically it's possible. If you put a bunch of monkeys in a room with typewriters and they live forever, at some point they will randomly type out Shakespeare or something like that. It's possible that we'll all agree on something, but it's so unlikely that to bet on that and to get angry when that doesn't happen, it's a way to use a lot of energy and not get very far. So to kind of back this up and realign myself with this progression that I've been making through the last 2 podcasts, really, the truth, I think, is something that I'm going to have a totally different podcast on. But the truth is something that exists that's external to you. It's something that it's very hard to get a handle on because you need so many different perspectives. You need to know everything in order to know you know the truth, and nobody can know everything. So the truth is kind of unattainable, but you can get some truth by the more you figure out about something, the more perspectives you look at, the more you can empathize with other people, the more you can get an idea of what the truth is. But I think it's healthy to understand that you never really know the full truth. And then you have your truth or my truth, where I do know that. I'm the only person that knows that fully because I made it up. And I'm not saying it's made up like it's imaginary, it's not real. It's like it's my truth. I made it up because I experienced it, I lived it, I created it. And it's what is my life. And it's real and it's valid. It's a thing that everybody should have and be proud of. But it's not the truth, because the truth involves what's outside of you as well. It involves you. Your truth contributes to the truth. But the truth is everybody's truth, plus, the laws of physics, plus whatever else is going on in the universe, all coming together every moment. And nobody can know everything in the universe at any moment. So, let's cut each other some slack. Let's try to not get into this space where I'm fighting my truth against your truth, because both of them are incomplete. They're not full pictures of what's going on. There are perspectives, there are beliefs, there are desires, and let's talk to each other. Let's have the benefit of the doubt and try and not force everything through our favorite machine. Let's put our pizzas in the pizza oven. Let's put our dough in the mixer bowl. Let's put our salads in the salad bowl. And let's put our drinks in cups. And if you're putting, your soft drinks in the pizza oven and somebody is like, hey man, it looks like you're putting drinks where pizzas go, don't yell at them. Maybe try to understand them a little bit more. Be like, well, what do you mean? And then maybe after you talk to them for a little bit, it may become more apparent to you that you're putting emotion into the logic machine, or logic into the emotion machine, or soft drinks into the oven, or you're trying to shove pizza into a large cup that's meant for Coca-Cola. And I think it's like more about being humble, working with each other, and asking questions, listening. Oh my gosh, listening is so difficult because it's a skill. It's not something you're naturally born with. You can hear sounds, but to listen and truly understand, it takes a bunch of effort and skill, and you got to learn how to do it. So, please develop your listening skills. It's not something you were born with. Just because you're emotional, or just because you're logical, or just because you're this or that, doesn't mean that you're like naturally endowed with listening skills. Listening is about understanding perspectives you're uncomfortable with. It's about using machines that are not your favorite machine, and it's about being patient. So everybody's bad at it, because the whole point of it is to be able to look at the stuff that's not your favorite, to look at the stuff you're not used to look at the stuff you're not good at, and get more well-rounded understanding. It's something you're naturally bad at, and you can get better at, but it's kind of like you're naturally weak at it. So, yeah, that's kind of this. I hope you fall less into, or you don't fall into the garbage in, garbage out. I hope you fall into the pizza in, pizza out, because pizza is delicious, and you should appreciate pizza. It was a blessing to this planet, and I'm so glad that pizza was invented. So let's have more pizza. Let's have less garbage. And, yeah. So this has been the Perspective podcast episode that I'm calling Garbage In, Garbage Out. If you haven't already, I really recommend, because we're the next episode, oh my gosh, it's going to be putting it together. So please listen to the Logic Aliasing episode and the Emotion Machine episode before we get to next week's. But it's going to be good. If you haven't already, I'm trying to get this out to different people so that they can, have the opportunity to think different things, broaden their perspectives, challenge me and tell me stuff that I can work on, stuff that I can grow in. So if you can, share this podcast with people. If you can, rate this on iTunes or the podcast, Apple Podcast. There you go. Maybe even write a review. Let me know what you think. I think really hard about these. I try to put out stuff that I think can help people. And if it helps you, please help me to share it with other people so it can help other people. But anyways, Perspective Podcast episode on garbage in, garbage out. Hope you got something out of it. And yeah, I will see you guys later.